Hi, my name is Anne Kalinowski. I'm a research analyst with Supply Chain Insights, and today I'm doing a video summary of the blog that I wrote, Do I Need to Know What Blockchain Is? The topic for this blog came from the Beat Fusion topic of the month, which was, what technology do you think will drive supply chain innovation? And I didn't really know what blockchain was before this blog, and so I did some research to try to figure out what it is and try to figure out how we can use it in supply chain. So after doing a bunch of research, I kind of realized that I still don't know what it is. It's a little bit fuzzy in my mind, but then I think I compare it to like the internet or to emails or the apps on your phone. Do you really know the behind the scenes of how they work? I don't. Maybe, you know, from a very high level, but not really exactly how they work. So it sounds like blockchain technology is kind of the base technology behind the things that we'll be able to do with it. So right now it's the technology behind Bitcoin, the online currency. So what is it? It's a distributed database. So distributed meaning it's not housed somewhere on a server or multiple servers. It's everybody who links in, basically everybody who downloads this software client is connected and can see the blockchain. And everybody sees the same version and has that. So what is in the blockchain? It's just different data records. In the case of Bitcoin, it's the transactions of Bitcoin between different people or parties. And each block contains, you know, from 1 to thousands of transactions, and those blocks need to be verified by somebody in this distributed network. And so they see if the transactions, for instance, meet certain conditions, and if they do, then they have to also assign this block a code. They call it a hash, and so it's some cryptography that they use, and once they've got this hash assigned to this block, then to add it to the blockchain, they link it or they reference the previous hash in the latest block in the blockchain, and then they add, so that adds it. So the cool thing about blockchain technology is that if anything changes in a block, if someone were gonna try to go and say, change a transaction to increase the number of Bitcoin that were sent, for instance, everybody in the blockchain will know, because all of the blocks after this block that they change the transaction on reference that block. And that hash that was associated with the block is only valid for the certain data that had already been validated or verified. So if anything changes in that block, then it affects all the rest of the blocks after it in the blockchain. So there are a few analogies out there that I like. Some people say it's similar to Google Docs, and that everybody sees that version of, you know, the record, and everybody can contribute to it. Some people say it's similar to Wikipedia. The only thing is, you know, if, like I said, if something changes in the blockchain, then you'll know. So how can we use this technology in supply chain? So how it's used for Bitcoin and why it was actually created is to be this sole source, this truth of transactions, or this ledger for exchanging the Bitcoin currency. And so it got rid of the need for a third party, for a bank, to manage the transactions between parties. And so similarly, we could do this with supply chain financials or accounting. We could use the blockchain to be our ledger and be our source of information and our source of exchange of currency. So another big application that people are talking about is being able to use the blockchain to trace your supply chain all the way back to your raw materials. And so you all could form this, you know, from all the way back in the supply chain, you could be on a blockchain where each step of the supply chain contributes certain information to the blockchain, all the way through even to the consumer. So the consumer could even validate whether certain quality or ethical standards were met throughout the entire supply chain. So that's a pretty cool application. And then a lot of people are talking about smart contracts, which sound pretty cool because the blockchain can transfer this value, you know, like in the case of Bitcoin, it could also be the source of like your contract between two parties. And so let's say you're a manufacturer and you work with a distributor and you have certain quality and delivery requirements that you've agreed upon with the distributor. So if you sign this contract, let's say it's maintained on the blockchain, then you can create the smart part of it, which is if those delivery and quality requirements are met, then automatically you could transfer money. It could trigger the transfer of money between the parties. So that's a pretty cool application too. So those were the ones that I could understand anyway. I'm sure there's tons more applications for the blockchain technology. And I'm curious if you've heard any better analogies or explanations of blockchain that are very simple. I think that's the key because it sounds pretty complicated, but I'd love to hear them. And let me know if you think there's any other applications that we could use blockchain for.